Hey everyone, this is Control, and today I'm here to bring you guys my top 10 cards from Un'Goro. These won't be in any particular order, just the 10 cards that I think that are most interesting. At the very end of the video, I'll also be talking about the 3 quests that I think are the most cool. Let's jump right in. Okay, first up is Life-Use Sega Don, a 3-mana 3/4, Battlecry, adapt your Silverhand Recruits. It's also a beast. So this card is going to be nuts and wild in my opinion, because of Muster for Battle, right? It's just such a strong card, and if you guys are new to the game and you don't know what Muster for Battle is, it's a 3-mana card that summons 3 Silverhand Recruits for you and gives you a 1/4 weapon, which is just absolute bonkers, right? It's very tough for an opponent to deal with all 3 of the 1/1s on the same turn, unless it's maybe a Shaman with Maelstrom Portal, for example. Otherwise, you should be able to pretty much consistently get the Battlecry effect off at least 1 or 2 of your Silverhand Recruits on turn 4. Big pro about this is it is a curve play. Can also curve out into turn 5 Quartermaster, which I have up there. Again, for you new players, it's a 5-mana 2/5. Battlecry, give your Silverhand Recruits plus 2/2. Also, this card synergizes quite well with Justicar, meaning that it will be great later on in the game. This will fit super well in a mid-range Paladin deck, which isn't really a viable archetype right now, but maybe a card like Life-Use Sega Don and additional Silverhand Recruit synergy could make that deck type viable again. Blood Bloom is a 2-mana spell for Warlocks. The next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. So I think this is actually an interesting card for Wild. While it won't really be a good one for Standard, simply because Standard Warlock decks lack the healing the Wild Warlock ones do have. So in Wild, what you can do, for example, is, say turn 5, you need to Twisting Nether, right? It's the only hard removal in hand, you have Blood Bloom, and you just need the board clear. You can go Blood Bloom, Twisting Nether, take the damage, and next turn play Reno Jackson, go back to full health. Again, this is something that won't be available for you in Standard simply because Reno's rotating out and you don't have Heal Bot either, right? So I think the additional healing that you have in Wild makes Blood Bloom an actual card that could be included in a deck like Reno Lock. Rockpool Hunter is a 2-mana 2/3 Murloc. Battlecry, give a friendly Murloc plus 1/1. So I think this card is absolutely bonkers with the new Shaman quest, right? This card just helps you stay on board, and it's just, it's actually just gross, right? You play Murloc Tidecaller on 1, you play Rockpool Hunter as a curve play on 2, your Murloc Tidecaller is already a 3/3, right? It's a lot tougher to deal with than a 1/2. This card is also great because it synergizes extremely well with Every Fin is Awesome. Helping you stay on board means that Every Fin is Awesome will get discounted for every Murloc you have, right? And basically, as soon as you play Every Fin is Awesome, you just win the game unless your opponent has a plethora of AoE removal, right? So really what Rockpool Hunter helps you do is just, it helps your whole game plan with Murlocs, right? Helps you just flood the board and stay on the board. It also synergizes with the quest again, Unite the Murlocs, it'll be really good with that, right? You stay on board so you play your 10 Murlocs, and you get Mega Fin, you play Mega Fin, and you flood the board yet again. So I think this is just going to really help push the archetype of Murloc Shaman ahead and make it a little bit better, which is awesome. Ravenous Paradox is a 4-mana 4/4, Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion to adapt twice. So on paper this card looks like shit, right? It just does not look that good. But really what you have to remember is in Wild there's cards like Nerubian Egg and Haunted Creeper, which you don't necessarily mind destroying, right? And the thing is, adapting twice on a 4/4 is actually really, really strong. Another cool thing about this is it works with one of the new cards called Devilsaur Egg as well. Very similar to Nerubian Egg. Devilsaur Egg is just basically a slightly worse version of Nerubian Egg, but maybe you run Nerubian Egg and Devilsaur Egg in your Zoolock deck, right? Then you curve out with Ravenous Paradox on turn 4, destroy it, get your 4/4, your 5/5 from Nerubian or Devilsaur Egg, and then you get to adapt twice in your 4-mana 4/4 body, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? So I think this could be really interesting and help bring Zoo back into the meta, assuming everything slows down a tiny bit. Spirit Singer Umbra is a 4-mana 3/4 with the effect, after you summon a minion, trigger its Death Rattle effect. So what this card tells you right away is this is exactly why Sylvanas was rotated out, right? Other than being a problematic card in general, this is just like a 10-mana random mind control, which is nuts, and you get a 3/4 and a 5/5 on board, and whatever minion you steal, which is just ridiculous. It also synergizes well with any kind of a N'Zoth deck, right? Any of the minions you play in N'Zoth decks generally have Death Battles, which work quite well with Spirit Singer Umbra. Really what Umbra is exactly what Baron Rivendare should have been, but wasn't, right? Fortunately, we do have her now, right? With Sylvanas rotated out, this makes perfect sense, but it's something that'll stick in Wild, right? And be extremely strong, right? So any N'Zoth deck, I think we'll see Umbra, right? It'll just be extremely strong in the deck. Also, the meme on the bottom, Spirit Singer Umbra and Danksteed on turn 8, fills up your board with 6 Dreadsteeds, which is kind of funny. It's pretty good. But yeah, the card's awesome, and I think it'll be a staple in any kind of a Death Rattle deck. Keeper Theorem is a 6-mana 3/7. Taunt with Battlecry, set all other minions attack and health to 3. So it's basically like an AoE Keeper of Uldaman, right? Why I'm excited for this card is it's really going to help buff Paladin decks, so decks that are looking to play with Dragon Egg and Nerubian Egg, even just buffing tokens like Silverhand Recruit is going to be awesome. It should fit quite well in the deck where you're trying to complete the quest, right? With buffing minions, this just fits. You know, you take your garbage minions and you buff them up with Keeper Theorem later on in the game. AoE set it out to 3. It's also quite relevant because it actually trades with 3 of your opponent's minions, right? Assuming it's not a ping class, and assuming your opponent wants to trade in the Keeper Theorem, it will trade with 3 of the minions that it does Keeper of Ultimate effect on it, which is pretty cool. Jewel Macaw is a 1-mana 1/1, battlecry at a random beast to your hand, and it's also a beast. So this card's kind of like the opposite of Web Spinner, right? You just get the effect off immediately, get the pseudo card draw, right? You get a random beast. The pool is huge in Wild, right? So this is going to add a lot of variance to games that you play, which is kind of fun, right? It means that games aren't going to be stale. Your deck's not going to feel like it's just the 30 cards you put in it, but you get some random extra ones. Sometimes some fun stuff will happen. Like sometimes turn 10, you'll play this and get King Crush for lethal, stuff like that, right? Some trolled and clip's going to happen. But yeah, very similar to Web Spinner. And it also works extremely well with the Marsh Queen, right? Helps you get Queen Carnessa extremely quickly, which is awesome. Getting that off is just huge, so you can play a deck with a lot of 1-drops, right? And Jewel Macaw can sometimes be your late game, right? Maybe pull a card that costs 5 or more mana and just helps you stabilize on the late game, play big threats, and end games. So I think it's actually probably one of the more boring cards that I have in my top 10, but one of the ones that I'm interested to play with myself. Okay, so a little bit of cheating here for me. I know I said my top 10, but I like to include all of this together. So if you guys have watched my stream or any of my content, you know that I'm a big fan of Egg Druid, right? I have at least over 2,000 games in just this year alone, and I think Firefly is going to be a card that fits extremely well into Egg Druid. It's a 1-mana 1/2 battlecry, add a 1/2 elemental to your hand. It's also an elemental, but I think it will be able to replace Argent Squire quite handily. It's beautiful because it'll help you turn 3, right? Allow you to play a 2-drop, and you'll have the guaranteed 1-drop on turn 3 to play with it, which is just awesome. It's another minion, right? It's kind of like a shitty Echoing Ooze is what I'd say about it. It doesn't let you go ahead and use Mark of the Wild on it to double buff, but it gives you another token to work with so you can buff it. Devilsaur Egg is also an interesting card for Egg Druid. It's a 3-mana 0/3, Death Rattle summon a 5/5 Devilsaur. I like to call this card shitty Nerubian Egg. It still could be relevant within the deck, but I think Nerubian Egg is just straight up better. I'll test it out, see how it goes. And lastly, 4-mana Evolving Spores, adapt your minions. It's an interesting card, a lot of people are hyped about it. Personally, I'm not sold on it. I think if you want to play it, you'd be cutting Savage or Defender of Argus. Yeah, I'll test it out myself, see how well it goes. It's probably just a meta call. In some metas where you can have big boards, it'll probably be great. But in aggressive metas, I think it won't be too good at all. Direhorn Hatchling is a 5-mana 3/6 with the text that reads Taunt, Death Rattle, shuffle a 6/9 Direhorn with Taunt into your deck. So this is just awesome for fatigue reasons, right? So you play 2 of these in your deck, you shuffle 2 6/9s, that's 2 extra cards in your list, which is nuts. You play N'Zoth, then that magic becomes 4, assuming you roll 2 Direhorn Hatchlings, which is great. So I think in the slower meta, this could actually replace Sludge Belcher, which is nuts in Wild. Has great synergy with Elise, right? If you do play that in your deck, you get 4 more random legendaries, which is awesome. So yeah, I think you'd even play one of these in a regular N'Zoth Warrior when it comes out. 2 Belchers, 1 Direhorn Hatchling if you want to fit that. Very solid plays on turn 5 to just help you stabilize against aggro. Even good in mid-range matchups, right? Direhorn Hatchling, again, is better against mid-range and control decks than Sludge Belcher is. Sludge Belcher has the edge against aggro. So in an aggro meta, Sludge Belcher is still going to be better. But in a slower meta, Direhorn Hatchling is going to be the card to run, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I think it's just an awesome card, and I'm just super excited for it, basically. That's about it. I love Control Warrior, I love playing it, and any cards that help Control Warrior makes me smile. So I'm happy about this one, and we'll be testing out myself. Lastly is Primordial Glyph, 2-mana mage spell, discover a spell, reduces cost by 3. I find this really interesting just because it helps you find the removal that you need in the moment. You need card draw, you Primordial Glyph, get Arcane Intellect, 3-mana draw 2 cards, right? It's just something that helps you find an answer that you need on the spot, right? Mage spells in general are pretty good, with the exception of cards like Shatter, right? Yeah, we've all got memed by that by Babbling Book and stuff, but I think this card's actually really, really good, and it'll help you get what you need, right? Maybe you need a freeze effect, you know, you look for Frost Nova Blizzard, Ice Lance, even if it's a single target, right? You need AoE removal, look for Blizzard, Flamestrike, Volcanic Potion, you need a little bit extra reach, look for Frostbolt, Fireball, Forgotten Torch. It's just a nice card that fits in a lot of Reno Mage decks. Even more Tempo Mage decks might actually run this card just because it's like 2 mana, play the spell, right? You get the discount, which is sick. Maybe you go for that, you take like Arcane Missiles, you get 2 spells for 2 mana, it's pretty good with Flamewaker. It also synergizes with Open the Waygate, because again, Open the Waygate is a quest, cast 6 spells, it didn't start in your deck, and you get Time Warp. Primordial Glyph gives you a card that doesn't start in your deck, so now you're down to 5. It's pretty cool, and I'm interested to play with myself. Okay, so the quests that I'm most interested for are Mage, Shamans, and Hunters. I think these 3 will all be decent to good. So Open the Waygate is a quest, cast 6 spells that didn't start in your deck, and you get Time Warp. Time Warp is a 5-mana mage spell that lets you take an extra turn, which is pretty nuts, right? Exodia combos is what I see this talked about the most with on Reddit and just people on my Twitch chat. So I think it's pretty cool, and you're going to be able to pull off some pretty cool combos with it. Interested to mess around with it myself. Will it be competitively viable? Not sure. It seems pretty cool. It's a very, very strong effect, right? So we'll see how it pans out. Unite the Murlocs is a shaman one. Its quest is to summon 10 Murlocs and you get Megafin. Megafin is a 5-mana 8/8 Murloc with a battle cry, fill your entire hand with Murlocs. Random Murlocs. That's absolutely nuts, right? It's really going to give the Murloc decks just the final push that they need to be able to win games, right? The 5 mana 8/8 is no joke either, right? It's Fel Reaver without the negative effect. And in fact, that has a very positive effect, right? All the random Murlocs are nuts, and decks with everything is awesome, right? It's very, very strong, and I'll be interested to play with this myself. Lastly, the Marsh Queen is a hunter quest. Its quest is play 7 1-cost minions, and the reward is Queen Carnassa. Queen Carnassa is a 5 mana 8/8. Battlecry, shovel 15 Raptors into your deck, and Raptors are 1 mana 3/2s. They're called Carnassa's Brood, and they have the Battlecry draw a card, right? So I think this is absolutely ridiculous, and is going to push Hunter to actually be quite strong. That's just my initial reaction. I think this is a very, very strong quest, and is going to help Hunter rise and become an actual viable class again. It's going to be really, really crazy, right? And sometimes, you're going to play your 7 1-cost minions before turn 5, Curvo with Carnassa on 5, and just flood the board with Broods on 6. I think it's going to be personally quite ridiculous, and I'm very excited to play with it myself. I haven't played Hunter in a long time, man, but I'm excited to do it again come the next week. Just a little bit about me here at the end, guys. My name again is Control, and I stream for Fate to Karma. I finished top 10 on North America and Europe for the past 2 seasons for Wild Ladder, so I do kind of know what I'm talking about. I stream almost every day on twitch.tv/controllerboard, primarily wild content. It's basically what I'm doing all the time with a little bit of arena thrown in there, almost no standard. Feel free to sub to me on YouTube if you enjoyed the video and are looking for more content, and feel free to follow me on Twitter if you're interested in checking out my deck list and just seeing what I'm up to. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it a lot. Again, if you want to come say what's up or ask me any questions, feel free to leave a comment or come say what's up in Twitch chat. I'm live every day at 1 p.m. PST.